Alright, kia ora everyone and welcome to ResBook Training Session 1. Just to let you know, if you do have any audio or visual difficulties while we're going through today's session, please let me know by popping in some chat into the GoToLive meeting panel, which you'll see at the top right hand corner of your screen. Today I'm going to move quite quickly. We do have a lot to cover, but please don't stress at all. Most of what we do cover today is also on our training website, so there's absolutely no need to worry. What we suggest is just take a few notes as we go through. Really, we're just demonstrating what ResBook is capable of doing. Today, take a few notes to remind you to look up something at a later point. We're always available via phone and email, so we can discuss any questions you have at a later date. Another point I'll mention today before we get going is some of you may or may not have a credit card processing module depending on your requirements or your location. In today's session you will see option number 2, which is ResPay New Zealand, which is utilising our internet payment gateway, and that is available for New Zealand properties only. Alright, let's get going. So in today's session we're going to talk about how you can get bookings via your website. We're going to talk about how you can then manage those bookings once they've been fed into your ResBook system. We're going to talk about checking in, checking out, and how to use ResBook for invoicing. We're going to talk about how you can process credit card payments if you have an online credit card processing module. We're going to talk about manually entering bookings. We'll talk about closing units if you are going away on vacation or perhaps doing some renovation. And if we have time, we'll also talk about working with inbound agents, and we'll finish up the session with just a little bit of homework. All right. Hopefully you recognize the ResBook online processing, online calendar, sorry. This is what all the ResBook calendars look like. Obviously the information that you see on the calendar depends on the information that has been put into your specific ResBook system, which has been configured just for you. You can see up the top here you have your property name. There are some booking form notes which can also be included above your calendar to help your guests with their booking. You'll see along the top line here there is the legend, so green meaning available, red meaning fully booked, and orange meaning there's a pending booking in there. You'll also note that it states here what currency you're working in and whether tax is included or excluded. The next line down on this calendar is the navigation page here. So we can see in this drop-down box it allows us to skip forward to different months. And then there are 2 arrows. This green arrow allows us to move forward days. I'll apologize now for the slowness of our internet today. There we go, you can see it's just loading information. There we go, so we've moved forward the next few days, and there's also this green arrow here which goes back. Now down the left hand side of the online calendar, this online calendar gets integrated into your website, and I'm sure you've already received some information about that, but if you do have any questions about website integration, please just pop us an email. We're more than happy to help. It's a very integral part of using your ResBook system. Down the left hand side here you can see all what we call your stock units or classifications. These are the rooms or activities or dorm beds that you have to sell. Now there are a couple of different examples of what ResBook is capable of. First and foremost, we've got one example of an individual room, one stock unit, one line. So this is the orange room. You can see underneath the orange room it talks about what the rate is that's being displayed over here. You can see the full rate is listed in this first column, and then the rate on each of these days is shown on the correct date. Underneath that you can see the maximum number of guests that can sleep in that room. Now you can see there is a special applied. Now if we hover over a specific date, you can see a little bit more information about that particular stock unit. So we can see the name of the stock unit, the date that we're hovering over. Now you can see there's information there about the special that has been applied, and we will talk about specials later on, more so in session 2. So you can see a little bit more information when you hover over the particular date. You'll also notice that the names of the stock unit is blue and underlined, so indicating it's a link. Clicking on that link brings you to what we call the stock unit pop-up window. Now this stock unit pop-up window, it contains all the information that has been set up for this particular room. So you can see the name, bit of a description, details about beds and bathrooms, how many guests it can have, what type of bed, and how those beds can be configured. It also talks about any rates that have been set up, any minimum stays that have been created, as well as room features, all manageable yourself from within your ResBook system. So the orange room and the turquoise rooms are examples of single stock units or rooms. Next down on our list is what we call a virtual line. The Villa Deluxe Holiday Home is for those who offer your lodge, for instance, for exclusive use, as well as offering the individual room. So in this case, the orange room and the turquoise room are both part of the Villa Deluxe Holiday Home. Now you'll notice whenever there's a booking, you'll notice there's a pending booking here in the turquoise room, and there's also a confirmed booking in the orange room. The Villa Deluxe Holiday House closes. If someone books a Villa Deluxe Holiday Home, then both the rooms inside that almost like a parent facility close also. So if you do offer your lodge exclusively, a virtual line may be perfect for you. The next two options here, the poolside room and the standard rooms, are example of classifications. So a classification can be used to group stock units together which are all identical. So bed configurations, bathrooms and rates are all identical. Now you'll notice when we hover over the orange room here, down the bottom of our hover over we said available, there is one room available. You'll notice when we hover over a classification that there are 3 rooms available, therefore there are 3 stock units available on this date in this particular classification. So it's a way of grouping together rooms that are all identical. So the poolside rooms and the standard rooms are examples of classifications. The next 3 on the list, dorm beds. ResBook can sell individual beds for you. Vineyard tours is an example of activities which individuals can book into, and then the yacht charter is an example of a group activity. So one activity, one party books at a time. Now you'll see down the bottom we have the agent booking button, which we'll talk more about when we come to the agent section of training, and the book now button, and we'll go through a booking just like your guests will in a moment. Underneath that we've got our booking and payment policy link. You see by clicking on that it brings up all the information, the system settings that have been put into your new ResBook system. Now I'll point out for this particular system we're working with instant confirmation. So as long as the booking that your guest places, as long as you have availability, as long as it meets any of your minimum stay requirements, and as long as they put in correct credit card information, regardless of whether you have a module for that or not, a booking can be instantly confirmed. The system has instant confirmation turned on, and I'm sure you'll understand in your current industry that this is a very popular option. It also talks about the secure server, which the booking will be placed into, your child policy for educating your guests is there. Any minimum stays that have been put in place are advertised here, but most important is your payment policy. Again, these are all from within your ResBook system and can be controlled and changed whenever you need. For this particular ResBook system, you'll see there's a deposit of 25% of the total required to secure your reservation, balance payable at departure. So when we go through this process, it will be an instantly confirmed booking as long as I can pay 25% of the total. So we'll demonstrate that shortly. You'll notice there's an area here where you can add extra text if you need. It can be really great to display further terms and conditions. And it also mentions your tax. So that's your booking and payment policy. Next to that is your cancellation policy. Again, you've got a couple of pre-formatted lines there, plus an area to put in some extra text. Underneath those 2 links we have the logos of the cards that you can accept. Now Visa and MasterCard always by default if you do have an online credit card processing module. If you don't, then you can opt to select one of these or none of these. The American Express option, if you do have an online credit card processing module, is entirely up to you, all controlled from within your system. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and place a booking. I'm going to book for 2 nights in the Orange Room, arriving today. So all I need to do is tick the dates that I'd like to spend on the rooms, the stock units that I'd like to spend, and click on the Book Now button. There we go. What's the alert going to tell us? There we go. So you can see we've come through to what we call the FIT form, Free and Independent Traveller form, or the online booking form. You notice again it emphasises the currency that you're working in, and it reiterates your child policy over the top here. So section 1 covers what the booking has requested. You'll notice here you've got your check-in and check-out dates, and that you've got, we selected 2 nights from the 21st and the 22nd. Now if at this point your guest wants to change dates, they can click on this button here to go back to your calendar and start the process again. Now this line is going to be different depending on your particular stock unit settings. Now you remember the Orange Room. If we click on that link again, the Orange Room can sleep a maximum of 2 guests. It has 1 bed which can be configured as a twin or a king. This is highlighted right here where it says king. Now there is only 1 room, so it's only listed 1 there, and your guests can then go ahead and choose the configuration, whether they want 2 beds or a single double bed. The next area allows us to input how many guests we're going to be bringing with us, and it will be limited to the maximum amount of people that the room can hold, in this case 2. So you'll notice I can never put in more than 2 people. And the rate, based on the information that's found within the stock unit, you can see it's broken down with the gist, and there's your total. The next section, section 2, will always be collected. It is mandatory fields, and you'll notice the stars here indicate it must be completed before we can move on. So Mr. Fred Flintstone is going to be placing a booking. So every booking will come into your system with a first name, a last name, an email address which needs to be typed in twice to make sure that it has come through correct, and a phone number. You'll notice here there's an area where guests can type. So if they have any questions or perhaps anything they think you need to know, they can pop it in there. Section 3 is specifically set up from within your ResBook system, allowing you to ask additional questions. So you see it says requested by your property name. In this case, I've decided to ask for a mobile number and an ETA, but you'll notice there's no asterisks here to indicate that they are mandatory fields. So my guests at this point could continue to book without completing those. We do believe that less is more. The more questions there are, the more chances that your guest will change their mind in the booking process. We don't want that. So you'll also see, I'm going to pop a ETA in here of 2 p.m. You'll also see our links are here again, and at this point your guests need to tick the fact that they accept all your policies by ticking that little button there and clicking continue to payment. Now you'll recall this system is set up for instant confirmation, 25% deposit. So here we go. This system has ResPay New Zealand, which is the online credit card processing module. If a booking is instantly confirmed and requires a deposit at time of booking, the system will automatically collect that payment for you, which it's all about saving you time. Now you'll notice I'm just putting in some false credit card data. You'll notice also that this is in test mode. Once your system has been turned live, this false number won't be accepted, obviously. All right, they'll click submit. Now what the system's going to do at this point is it's going to go off to your guest credit card and it's going to collect that money. It's going to charge their credit card the 25% deposit right then and there. And this is our confirmation page. So once a booking has been placed, it gets given a unique 6-digit identification number which sticks through the entire history of that particular booking. You can see here that the booking status is confirmed because we have instant confirmation on. All the information of that booking is reiterated, and the booking and payment policy is displayed again here. And nice little handy thing at the bottom, there's a link to your website. They can print this page if they wanted to, but a few things happen at this point. Firstly, they will receive an email to let them know their credit card has been charged. They will also receive what we call a standard reply. A standard reply are emails that are set up within your system to send all the information to your guests. So they will receive what we call standard replies 3, which contains all the information which you see on your screen. Now you will also receive a ResBook notification to let you know that you've received a new booking, and if your system is set up to do so, you will also receive copies of the emails your system has sent to your guests. So a copy of the credit card charge and a copy of the standard reply. And your guest has completed the booking process. That's all they need to do. Now you'll receive a notification telling you to log into ResBook. So this is your ResBook login page. Now to access ResBook, all you need to do is type in www.resbook.co.nz. Now it doesn't matter where you are in the world, as long as you have a computer and internet access, you can log into your ResBook system. It's one of its best features, I do believe. And you'll notice that you do get redirected slightly, and the session expired error, if you do happen to get this, it's just to do with your browser's history, and it's quite easy to solve the problem. All we need to do is clear our browser history. Clear your recent history right here. I'm going to clear cookies and cache. Clear now. Okay. And we'll refresh this page again. And there we go. So easy solution to that problem. So this is your login page. And you'll notice your username and password can be entered here as per what was given to you in your configuration complete email after we completed your configuration. A couple of things I'll point out to you on this page. When you log in, you have a couple of security options. So if you are using a public or shared computer, you need to be very careful. Obviously, ResBook includes a lot of private information, valuable business information, as well as credit card data. So you need to be very careful. If you are using a shared or public computer, do select this option and ensure that you log out as soon as you're finished using ResBook. If you are using a computer that only you have access to, please go ahead and tick that you are using a private computer. You'll notice that you will no longer need to log in when accessing ResBook from this computer unless you log out. Now on this page also you'll see a forgotten your password option. So if you do forget your password at any time, you can click here, enter your username, and this will generate an email to be sent to the email we have entered into our database as your main contact email. That email will contain a link allowing you to reset your password. The same thing happens if you happen to put your information incorrectly 3 times in a row. Your account will be locked, but you'll also see a link to unlock your account at that point. So we're going to go ahead and log in by clicking the login button. And welcome to ResBook. Now the first thing you'll notice on this page is what we call the alerts flag. The alerts flag is telling you of things that need your attention when you first log in to ResBook. First, we'll start at the bottom of our list today. First on the list are our new messages. Now any time that there is a bullet point within this list, there will also be a corresponding tab. So you'll notice we have new messages. Click the messages tab to read them. Now when you first log in to ResBook, if anything has happened that we need to communicate to all ResBook users about, we will use the messages option within ResBook to communicate that. So you notice here we've got a message. These are the new messages that have come through. You can see what the subject was, when it was sent, and that it was sent from availability support. Now to read that message, you can simply click on the name of the message there. So this is just a nice little reminder about security of your system. Once you've read it, you can delete it, or you can simply click Go Back. At this point, I just want to point you out in the blue menu line, which is this big line across the middle, there is also a messages area. Clicking on this messages area brings up all the messages that you haven't deleted in your system, which I like to keep them all there just in case I need to reference them again in the future. Sometimes we send out really cool little tidbits of information this way. Throughout ResBook, whenever you see a blue underlined piece of information or text, you know that's a link. Clicking on that link will take you to see whatever that text is about. So that is your messages option. Now, throughout using ResBook, you can re-navigate yourself back to your home page or your home calendar by clicking Home in the blue menu. It's red, so you don't forget. Now, you'll notice that because we've read that message, it has been removed from our list here. Next on the list is we have one new booking, a total of 2 guests to check in. The booking we just placed for Fred was for today, so we're expecting him to turn up. So before we action that, we'll just take you on a little bit more of a tour about what your ResBook homepage includes. Now, you'll also see here we have 2 new booking requests. Now, if you're not using instant confirmation, you will receive booking requests instead of confirmed bookings. And you can see this blue flashing booking here. That is what we call a booking request, and we'll talk more about that very shortly. But you can see here there's a new bookings tab to show you the new requests that have been placed. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is your ResBook home calendar. So across the top we have our blue menu line, and then we have our action tabs. Underneath that we have the navigation buttons for the calendar that you're currently looking at. You can always tell what month you're looking at. June 2011, this will change right here. So this is just to let us know that we're currently looking at June. To go back to the previous year, I can click this button. To go forward to the next year, I can click this button. Any months within 2011 that I want to have a look at, or the current year I should say, I can click and go to that month using these buttons. At the end of this little navigation area is our first of 3 search areas. Now, this one allows you to enter in a booking number. Now, if you recall, every booking that gets placed has a unique 6-digit number. I could copy and paste this number into this area to go directly to that booking. So that's the first of 3 booking areas. It's the fastest way to get into bookings. Alright, if we come down and have a look at the calendar, you can see that this is very similar to our online calendar. These are all our stock units. So you remember the orange room and the turquoise room, the individual 1 room, 1 line stock units. Underneath that, in bold and italic, is the virtual line. So you'll notice that the light grey on your calendar indicates the fact that that room is closed. And if we hover over it, you'll see a little bit of information comes up saying it's been taken by another room, the orange room for that particular reservation. You'll notice there's a booking in the orange room. So a booking has been placed in the orange room. It is closed, the virtual line, so really handy there. Underneath that we have 2 classifications, the poolside rooms and the standard rooms, and you can see the actual physical stock units underneath that. So rooms 1, 2 and 3 have been included in the poolside room classification, but you can individually manage what rooms the bookings are placed into. The yacht charters is the group activity, and you'll notice with the dorm beds and individual activities they are displayed a little differently. Up here we can see our entire month. Dorm beds and activities, because there are multiple available on any one day, are listed per day. Now, really easy to navigate. You can move forward a day and back a day using these icons right here. But wherever you see this little calendar icon, this is your date picker, and you can easily move forward to a particular date by clicking on that, and you'll notice these date pickers are throughout ResBook. You can select your date, select today. You can go forward a month by clicking this button. You can go forward a year by clicking this button, and then you simply choose the date in the calendar to skip to that date. Now, at the bottom of your screen here, there are a few buttons. Firstly is our print button. Now, wherever you see the word print within ResBook, it will print whatever you see on your screen at that time using your internet browser's settings. So a really handy place to point out, best to use ResBook in Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox. It is not compatible with Safari or Chrome just yet. You'll find it works, but there will be some functionalities that aren't quite perfect in those two browser options. The next button is our second search area. So clicking on the second search area brings up this alert area. It allows us to search for the booking number similar to this search field, but it also allows us to put in a guest name or a booking name. So for instance, if I type in Piggy and click search, it's going to bring up all the bookings that have the word Piggy in the guest name. So Miss Piggy made a few bookings here. Now you'll notice here's the individual booking numbers, blue and underlined, meaning I can click on them to go there. I'm going to re-navigate back to the home page again by clicking home in the blue line and hide that flag. Alright, the next button down the bottom is the legend button. Now the legend's just talking about the different colors you can see on the calendar. So obviously currently white means available, so a booking can be placed into the white squares shown as green on your online calendar. Next along there we have a flashing blue booking, which means a new booking. It is flashing because it requires your attention. As soon as possible, it requires your attention. So that is what we call a new request or a new booking. The dark blue option here is a pending booking. Now pending generally because you're waiting for the guest to action a pending reconfirmation email, which we'll cover in today's session. And last but not least is the red confirmed booking. So everything's been done that you need to be done for that particular booking. The green isn't used anymore, so just ignore that. Black indicates a closure. So you can see a closure that you've placed yourself. Now if any bookings show a yellow line behind them, that means there are 2 bookings in that stock unit on that day. Now if you're working with a virtual line, you'll see that yellow line quite often. But if there's a yellow line behind another confirmed booking, it pays to double check. Now if we hover over here, you can see that the virtual line is actually taken by the booking that's in the orange room, but there is also a second booking behind there. And you can go to that booking and check out what it is by clicking on the blue underlined booking number right there. Last but not least are agent bookings. Now ResBook has great functionality when working with agents, all about saving you time, and you can see an example of the agent booking right here. You'll notice when I hover over any booking on the calendar, it gives us a little bit more information about that particular booking, which can be really easy just to make when you're glancing at your calendar a little bit quicker. You can edit these colors if you want pinks and purples and baby blues, go for gold. Right, the next button along the bottom here is our View Bookings button. Now, at the moment, this is your home calendar, and all the bookings that are within this month are displayed there. But if you'd like to see that in a list form, you can click on the View Bookings button. And this is going to give you a list of all the bookings that are placed in your calendar for that month that you are currently viewing. Now this is also what we call the full bookings list, and this list can be accessed in a different area. I'll bring your attention to the bookings menu from the menu line. The first item is our full list. Clicking the full list brings you to the exact same page. Now this is a really handy tool for a lot of reasons. So you can see here you can access the booking numbers by clicking on the number there. You can see a little bit of information. You can see what status all these bookings are sitting at the moment. Now to navigate to a bigger time frame, you can just select another month. So this will run from January to June for 2011, but you can just, if you just want January bookings, you can change that date there and just click display. You can print this page as you see it. You can export this page to an Excel document as you see it, but note this down, the Export Details button is a really handy way of exporting all these bookings as well as all the information that can be found within those bookings. So really cool little thing to know about, the Export Details button, and that will export what we call a CSV file or a comma separated values file and open up an Excel spreadsheet for you to work in. And you can then use Excel functionalities to sort and filter the data. Before we leave this page, I'll just note down here in the bookings menu, here's your full list, but underneath that we've got your new requests, your confirmed bookings, your pending bookings, and your cancelled bookings. So it's the same list, just filtered out per status of the booking. One more thing I'll point to you before we leave here is the third and final search area. Now this is my favorite. It saves you having to wait for the calendar to load before you do your search. You can come straight to this bookings menu, go to your search option, and it'll bring up this page. Here we go, allowing you to search for the booking number or the guest name, very similar to the last search option we looked at. All right, going back to my home page. The last button at the bottom of our home page may look different to you than what you see in front of you at the moment. Because we have dorm beds and activities within our ResBook system, it allows us to toggle between a month view and a day view. So you'll notice the difference here. We've got participant 1 through to 6 instead of just the one line per day, and you'll notice the button has changed to day view, and clicking that again takes it back to the original display. Now if you don't have dorm beds and activities, your button will say 3 times, allowing you to see 3 months. Now I will point out, the more information you have on your calendar, the longer it can take to load. Obviously, if you're loading 3 months at a time, it will increase that load time. So we do recommend just leaving it as the one calendar and navigating between your months up the top here. One last thing you'll notice here, red is today. So we know that we just placed a booking, and here is Fred Flintstone's booking. Now the easiest way to get into a booking is to click on it. And all I did was just click on that booking from the calendar, and this is the booking information. So we're going to go through the different buttons and how you can manage these bookings once they're into your system. The first button you see up the top here is the detailed button. Now the detailed button toggles between detailed and summary. So at the moment we're seeing the detailed view of the booking, and you can see all the information that was placed at time of booking. So your guests typed all this in when they were placing the booking, and you can see that it is confirmed and it was placed at your website. You can see how many adults coming, how many children, how many nights. You can see if they typed anything in. The guest comments area defaults to what they requested originally, and you can see guests can type what they want has been inserted there. And you can see the ETA has been put there as well. And here is our nightly rate and our total rate. So booking and summary, just for more information about that particular booking. The next two buttons, move and amend, allow you to make changes to this particular booking. Now the move button, first of all we're going to click on amend because it has the most functionality. You'll notice you can change most things within the booking. You cannot change the booking number, and when the booking has been placed at your website you also can't change the booking origin. But you can change the booking name, which has defaulted to the last name. You can change the rate if need be, keeping in mind that this has already been confirmed. What we're going to do though is we're going to reduce the nights back to 1. Now there are a lot of fields here, and we'll go over these in more depth when we place a manual booking, but you'll notice here you always have the option to notify the guest or not when you're dealing with a booking and making changes, etc. Now you'll see here there's also a comments to send to guest. You could type this in here and send it with the email, but there's an easier way to do that. When you click notify guest, you'll notice an additional button comes up down the bottom here, preview email. One more thing I'm going to highlight to you, if you have more information about this particular guest, perhaps you've collected an address and you'd like to include that information in the booking, tick the guest details box. Alright, and we'll see the result of that tick box in a moment. I'm going to click preview email to have a look at the email that this guest is going to receive. So this has been automatically populated, but as you can see, you can type whatever you like in there. So it allows you to personalize each email before you send it. So you can see the information about this particular booking has been pre-populated. Your cancellation policy is included in every email your guest receives. And this area here is what we call your email signature, which can be found on your address and contact settings page in the system settings menu. We'll talk more about that in session 2. So you can see the change that we've made. We've changed the nights from 2 to 1. And I'm going to click Save Booking. Now, whenever you're doing anything within ResBook, you can see a confirmation happens up the top. So your booking has been updated in ResBook. Now, this is our extended guest details page. So if I had some more information to pop in here about Fred, perhaps he's arriving from the USA, I can do so and click Save Booking. And when we look at the summary of the detailed view of the booking again, that information I've just entered will now be included. He's arriving from the USA. The Move button allows you to move a booking from a particular room. So this allows you to add a room on one night. It allows you to move a room on a particular night or all night. So you'll see this drop down area allows you to select a specific room. So if you want to move, perhaps this booking was in the turquoise room and we wanted to move it to the orange room, we just select move to the orange room and it would move the entire booking into the orange room. Now if you wanted to add a room at this point, you could do so just by ticking the boxes. Now on all these pages you will have noticed, once again there's the notify guest option, but there is an action button at the bottom, so always remember scroll right down to the bottom. Now on all these pages, if you want to save the changes that you have just made, you need to click the action button. But if you don't want to save these changes, you can simply navigate away. Click any other button. Go back to your home. You do not need to save anything. You can just navigate away. Now I'm not going to notify the guest of this change. I'm going to click the move button. Make sure they're in the orange room. The next button here is the email confirmation. Now I quite like this. It enables you to send an email to your guest with all the information about the booking. Keep it in mind they have already received an email in this case, but it's a nice way to add a personal touch. So you can send this. It'll simply reiterate all the information of the booking. Now, perhaps you don't want to collect a deposit automatically. You can use this option after you've collected that deposit, so they've placed the booking and it has been confirmed, but your system is not set up to collect a deposit at time of booking. Perhaps you can go ahead, charge the card, and then use the confirmation to let them know. Let them know you have charged their card. Easy options here. You can include the room that they're in. You can send it as an email. You can print it. You can also edit the email address, and clicking on confirmation will send that out to them. The next button here is the cancel button. Obviously allows you to cancel this booking. You can choose two options, cancelled by me or cancelled by guest, and you can put private comments in here that are simply attached to the booking. You can also notify guest or not, and you can add a cancellation reason in here. Again, if you add something in here, you'll simply see it again in the email preview, so you may just want to click preview email and type it directly into there. Obviously we're not going to cancel this booking, so I'm simply going to navigate away. The next two buttons, the services and payments button, very, very similar. Now keep your ear to the ground. We are currently developing a services module which will allow you to sell add-ons at time of booking. We're very, very excited about it. Don't have a time frame for you just yet. So to add a service to the booking with ResBook's current functionality, it's nice and easy. You can see the date has defaulted to today's date, although you can amend that if you want. Handy hint, make sure you keep it in the same format, otherwise it won't save it for you. You can see you can add a quantity here. Let's say Fred has just arrived and I've decided I wanted to go into his booking to make sure everything's fine. And while he's in the foyer, he would like a coffee. He's had a long trip. So here we go. I'm going to add a coffee to his bill. Now the commission here is simply if you're working with agents and you have an agreement to include commission on services. But you can see $2.50 and add entry. Really nice and easy. And you can see once it's saved, it goes out of the text box into the gray area behind it. Now, if I wanted to make changes to that service, you'll notice the date has become a link. Clicking on that allows me to edit it again if I want to, make changes, click edit, or I can even delete it if I want to. Now, I don't want to actually make any changes. That service will still be saved there. So if I go back to the detailed button and have a look down here at the subtotal of the booking, you can see that the subtotal has now been increased by $2.50, the amount of the service we just added. So you've got your reservation worth $500 and your service worth $250. So I will stress the services module is about to be updated. Next to that is our payments option. So this is where you can record any payments that you have collected. Now, if you are working with ResPay New Zealand, or ResPay. So if you do have a online credit card processing module within your ResBook system, any payments that you process via ResBook will be automatically included in this page. If you are taking payments outside of ResBook, you will need to manually add the payments yourself. So you notice, let's say Fred just gave us $2.50, so I can just pop in here. He gave it to us today, so we can leave that. We're going to add $2.50 cash. And you'll notice that the booking deposit that was collected automatically has already been included here. And there we go, very similar functionality to the services button. If I wanted to edit that again, I could do so by clicking on the date. Now the history button is fantastic for troubleshooting. Now do write this down. The history reads from the bottom. So make sure you bring the scroll bar all the way to the bottom of your screen before starting your problem solving. You can see here that almost within a second of each other there was a new reservation and a credit card payment. So you can use this to track payments. You'll notice here that we made an amendment and that an email was sent. So here's a track of the email that was actually sent. And you can see what amendment was made. We can see we made a movement. We can see the service that we added, and we can see the payment that we've added. So really great for tracking what has actually gone on within the booking. Now the next button, the print button, we've talked about that before, prints what you see on your screen at that time. The copy button allows you to copy this particular booking. Now it can be really handy if you have returning clients. It allows you to copy this booking and give it a new arrival and departure date. Now before we move on, if you do have an online credit card processing module, there is one more button I wanted to highlight to you, the payment request button. Now the payment request is different than your online credit card processing module, but you do need to have a module in order to do this. All a payment request will do will send an email to your guest asking for a specific amount of money. That email will include a link which your guest can then follow to pay this amount of money. Now, it does not capture credit card details like the pending reconfirmation procedure does. Write that down. We'll talk about that shortly. Nor does it capture credit card details like the online booking process does. It simply gathers that $500 for you. So it can be used in certain circumstances. You may find a purpose for the payment request, but you do not need to use the payment request. For this booking, we know it was placed online. We created what we call a billing token when it was placed, and to charge the card I can simply go to ResPay New Zealand and charge the card directly without sending the guest an email at all. Last but not least is the check-in button, but this means that I can process the check-in from this point, but I also just wanted to highlight from our home page. Now the check-in button will only be there if the booking is due to check-in. But there is an easier option. You'll notice here we have a booking to check in, and here is the check-in tab. So here we go. We've got the booking that is due to come in today, and you can go into the booking at this point, or you can simply check them in. So I'm just going to click on check in, and you'll notice that the check-in tab up here will vanish, and be replaced by the in-house tab. So now we have one booking staying with us at the moment. Now when you check a booking in, you'll notice an invoice is raised. So let's talk about that invoice now. If we go into the booking, so we can access the invoice from here by clicking on the invoice number, blue underlined, indicating it's a link. But within the booking, you'll notice the check-in button's gone and it has been replaced by the invoice button. So clicking on that invoice is going to bring us to invoice number 80, which has been raised for this specific booking. Now, you'll notice all the information that has previously been entered into the booking is automatically included. There are a few buttons across the top here. Now, every invoice is completely customizable. The first button we'll talk about is the cancel invoice button. The only time you should need to cancel an invoice is if you've raised one by mistake. We'll talk about raising invoices manually very shortly. The next three buttons along the top here update the invoice. As I mentioned, when you check a booking in, the invoice is created as per the information that was already included in the booking. But after that point, before you check the booking out, if you make any changes to the booking itself, if you add any services or if you add any payments, you will need to add them to the booking and then also update the invoice. Although when you do check the booking out, the invoice will be updated automatically. So let's say Fred requested a newspaper. So I'm going to use the link back to the booking. You'll see the booking number there as a link. I'm going to go back to my booking and add another service by clicking on the services button. All right, let's say tomorrow morning he would like a newspaper. And we'll say that is $1.50, add entry. Now you see it's saved, it's all good. We can come here, click on the invoice button to take us back to the invoice, and scrolling down you'll notice the newspaper is not included in the services area because I need to update the invoice by clicking on the services entry button. So clicking on that button, you'll notice here is our alert to say that it has been done, and here we go. Here's our newspaper included in the services area. Now, the next button along the top here is the Save button. If you make any changes to your invoice at any point, you need to save. You need to save before you email. You need to save before you print. Before I save, I'm going to click Save right now. And there we go, invoice has been saved. Lovely. Also going to add, you can see here, you can add an invoice number, which can be really helpful when working with agents. You can add an invoice title, and this may be really handy to know. If they require a tax invoice, you can write it in there. And these are our invoice notes. So I'm just going to go ahead and type them in there free form. You can see it has calculated the balance due there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save that again so that all my order numbers and titles, etc. are saved. Now at this point you've got two options. Now as he's in-house right now, I presume that we would like to print this. So it's really easy. Click print and it's going to come up using your browser settings to print. Now I can't really display the invoice properly, so I'm going to click on email to show you what the invoice looks like. So this also allows you to email this invoice, and the invoice comes as the content of the email, and it's also attached as a PDF. So you can see all the information, everything that has come from in your ResBook system. You can see you can display your bank account number here if you'd like, as well as your GST number and all your personal details. You can see the services, the reservation information, plus any payments. Here's our invoice notes, which we added ourselves. Now you can see here you can also add invoice comments. Now the invoice comments are put onto every invoice that has been created. So at this point I can send this or not send, but what I'm going to demonstrate to you is just where we can get a little bit more information about invoicing. In our blue menu line we've got a check-in, check-out option, and there's two things within this. The first thing we're going to go to is settings. Now these are invoice settings. You notice here, perhaps you trade under a different name. You can alter your accommodation name at this point and any of your information. It's this page you need to come to tick the box to display your bank details, although you will need to make sure that your bank details are included on your accounting and financial page. We'll talk about the admin menu in session 2. And here's where you can add your invoice comments. So you can come to this page and set up your settings for your invoices. Remember to click Save Changes before you navigate away. Also in the check in and out menu is our invoices options. Now there are 3 sections on the invoice page. The first section allows you to raise a new invoice. Now you may wish to raise a new invoice because you'd like an invoice before you check a booking in. Perhaps a particular booking requires multiple invoices. You are charging different people for different aspects of that booking. You can input the 6-digit booking number in here and click on Raise Invoice. The second area here allows you to search for a particular invoice. So we know that the invoice we were just working on was invoice number 80, and I can view that invoice there. The last area allows you to search for an invoice. Invoice raised between a certain date period, with the guest name or with the booking number, so you can search for invoices that have already been raised there. So that's what you need to know about invoicing. Really handy just to remember you need to save it after you've made any changes, and remember you need to push those update buttons if you make changes in the booking. So I'm just going to go back to that invoice. Now you'll notice here these little orange crosses allow you to delete a particular entry, and because the dates are underlined in blue, you can click on them to edit that particular entry also. Alright, so back to our home page. So far we've seen how your guests place a booking on your online calendar. We've seen how you receive those bookings, how you can manage those bookings and make changes. We've seen how you can check a booking in, and how you can raise an invoice, raise an email or print that invoice. Now, when the booking is due to depart, you'll notice a tab comes up here, and it will say check out on the day they are due to depart. So hopefully if you join us tomorrow for session 2, that checkout tab will be there. So check in and out and invoicing, it's not compulsory, but it's a great feature for you to use. Alright, so let's talk about credit card processing. Now if you do not have an online credit card processing module like ResPay New Zealand for New Zealand users, or possibly ResPay if you're an international customer, the system will collect credit card information for you, which you can view from within the booking. When you are looking at a particular booking, let's click on our booking here to go into it, there will be another button here for you that says Retrieve CC. So that will allow you to see the credit card number, and you can then take it away and charge it using your own system. Now, because you'll recall for this particular booking, Fred's booking, we collected the booking deposit. So we know we've already collected that amount, but we still need to collect the balance. So let's pretend it's the next day. Fred said, just charge my credit card that I paid with to capture the balance of my booking. Now, you notice ResPay New Zealand in the blue menu line. One thing you will need to ensure that you do not have a pop-up blocker, or if you do have a pop-up blocker on your browser, that it allows pop-ups from globalavailability.com and secure.globalavailability.com. So if you do have problems accessing ResPay, please just drop us a line and we'll troubleshoot what your browser is doing to prevent you from seeing it. Every time you go to ResPay New Zealand, you need the booking number that you want to work with. So if we highlight the booking number, I'm using the right click on my mouse to copy that number, then I can click on ResPay New Zealand. Now you'll see this page comes up asking you for the booking number. Right-clicking and paste gives us the booking number that we want to collect a payment for, and then I can click Load. Now this is the screen you will see if a credit card number has already been attached to a specific booking. So you can see the booking number and the name of the booking. Now in the description area you may want to pop in your property name. So you can see obviously red asterisks mean mandatory again, so you don't need to put anything there if you don't like. Underneath that, we've got our amount. Now, the amount is going to default to the total amount of the booking, but as you can see, you can override that. Now, if you recall, the remaining balance on this booking was $251.50. So I'm just going to go ahead and type that in there. That's what we need to collect. Now, if this booking for some reason doesn't have a credit card number attached to it, keeping in mind that if it did come from your website, it probably does, this page would prompt you to enter a credit card number, and we'll demonstrate that when we do a manual booking very soon. So it's really important that you make sure that this is all correct. You can see here the ResPay terms and conditions. If you'd like to read a bit more about ResPay, you can do so by clicking on that link. And last but not least, you need to tick this button here to say that you are not being fraudulent. Underneath the bottom here, you can see change CC. So if your guest would like to pay the balance on a different credit card number, you can come to this page and click the change credit card number to enter in a new credit card. Now, it is a two-step process. The credit card needs to be validated before you can charge it, but once you've added it, you can then charge that card. But we're going to click process. Now, please be really careful. Do check this, because this is going to go away right now and collect $251.50 from this person. So clicking OK will come to your confirmation page. So as long as you see this nice big red approved, you can rest assured knowing that your guest has the money and has paid for the remainder of the booking. Now, if it says decline, you'll need to discuss with your client for alternative means of payments. So if you are using ResBook and ResPay New Zealand to process your credit card payments, there are fees involved only on the payments, not involved on the booking total, but only on the payments you process through ResPay. And you can see here that the transaction amount was $251, but the availability commission, sorry, commission is a wrong word here, it should just be fees, is $10.56. So the amount to be transferred into your bank account will be $240. So the total transaction minus the fees that have been applied will be transferred into your bank account within 48 hours. Now, we do try really hard to keep it within 48 hours, but you think it's very similar to bank processing hours. So if the payment is collected midnight Friday, we won't see that transaction until Monday, and then 48 hours from Monday becomes Wednesday. So we then transfer this amount into your bank account. Now, the fees that are applied are 4% for MasterCard and Visa plus a 50-cent transaction fee. And if it's an Amex, if you accept Amex, it's 5.5% plus the 50-cent transaction fee. So that money gets transferred into your bank account minus the fees. Now, if you have your own merchant account and DPS account, you can, you'll notice it says ResPay in the blue line instead of ResPay New Zealand. These fees won't apply for you. These are simply fees for ResBook users who are utilizing our e-commerce merchant account and our DPS account. If you'd like a bit more information about how you can set up your own accounts and connect them to your ResBook system, please do let us know. We'll provide that for you. So from this point here, you can process a new transaction. You can print the receipt. Now, this is pretty cool. You can ask your guests to sign these. So that's really cool. I'm just going to cancel that. And you can simply close the page. Now, if we click on the payments button, we'll see the payment that we've just processed. Here we go. So they have paid a total of $504. Now, if you were super organized and perhaps you wanted everything to be ready for Fred when he checked out in the morning, you pop through to your invoice right now. You'll notice that that payment hasn't been included. We're going to click on the payments entry button. There's the payment. Balance is 0. I'm going to click save. And I'd probably print this out and deliver it to him tonight so he can take away a tax invoice, which is all completed to show that he has paid. So with ResPay New Zealand, you have up to 7 days after the date of departure to charge that card. After that point, the booking token, the credit card information, is deleted. Now, to see records of those payments, if you go to your admin menu and pop down to where it says My Availability Account, you'll come to this page here. Now this is showing your balance should always be zero, unfortunately, because this is just a test property, a training property. I don't get paid, but that would be nice. I'd like that money. You can see your balance down this side. Now you can see here's the payments that we've processed today from Fred. So you can see that Fred has made the payment. When we pay that money out to you, that money will be reflected in the debit column. So you can come to this page in your admin menu, My Availability Account, to see whether we have processed that payment for you. You can also look at your end user license agreement again on this page. You can print this page, you can export it, and if you do have an online credit card processing module, you can also pay your subscription online. Alright, the next thing I want to talk to you about is manual bookings. So there's a couple of options. Obviously, if you've got someone just walk in off the road, perhaps a telephone booking, it's really important to keep your availability within ResBook up to date. It also allows you to use great ResBook features like invoicing and reporting. So the easiest way to place a booking is simply by clicking on a clear square on your calendar. And this is what we call the manual booking form. Now, clicking on a square on your calendar allows you to place a booking only into that particular stock unit. So I'm going to go through the process. Now you'll notice anything in red is a mandatory field. So the default arrival date was what I clicked on the calendar, obviously. But I can change that by using the date selector. You can put in how many adults are coming. In this case, it's only going to be one. How many nights they'd like to stay, if they're going to bring any children, but you can see that's not mandatory. Now, there are two options in the status drop-down, and the first I'm going to talk to you about is the pending reconfirmation. Now, please note this down, pending reconfirmation procedure. I'll demonstrate it here, but if you'd like to talk more about it later, more than happy. It's a really important and very cool feature within ResBook. So for this point, I'm going to leave it at pending reconfirmation because what I want to do is send the guest an email to get their confirmation of the rate and get their credit card details via a secure system, all online. So I'll demonstrate another way of collecting manual bookings, but that's the one I want to talk about first. Alright, I'm going to put in the nightly rate. Now the rate here is our nightly rate. So to calculate the nightly rate, you do need to take the total cost of the booking and divide it by the amount of nights that they're staying. In this case, it's going to be $500. The booking origin, I'm going to say that I received an email from this guest. The expiry date allows me to put a time frame on how long I'm happy to wait for them to reply to my email. In this case, we'll leave it as 2 days. All right, booking is for Mighty Mouse, and because I'm going to send them an email, we're going to have to put in an email address there, and country is obviously, you'll see there's a drop down here, and if you don't know the country, you can select unknown. Now there are a few areas here. Comments, if you wanted to put any notes for your reference, you can add there. Comments to guest, you can pop in there, but you'll recall we're going to add them into the email ourselves, so we're not going to add anything there. Notes is just another area you can add to. Now the important note field is quite cool. If we pop up the top again for a second, you'll see this nice little triangle. Clicking on this triangle allows us to drop down our calendar on top of whatever page we're working on. So you'll see it loading the calendar. It's just bringing through all that information, and if we just scroll down on this page, you'll see the manual booking form is still below us. Now the important notes are kind of cool. If you write something in this field, it will be included when you hover over a booking. It'll be included on this little hover over, so it can be really great for your front desk staff to get little tidbits of information immediately. Alright, if I had more information about this person, if I had additional phone numbers or addresses, I could tick the guest details box there to enter that in a moment. and I'm going to click Save Booking. Now at this point it's going to ask me if I want to send the standard reply to the guest. Now if you know what the standard reply looks like, and you'll get to that point eventually, you can just go ahead and click Yes. But we're going to click Preview Email. Now this is the email that's going to be sent. Now you can see this was automatically popped in here, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow when we look at our standard replies in the admin menu. But you'll notice that you can just type in here. Now this email includes a lot of information. So it's got how many nights, their arrival date, what rate, and the booking total. You can see your payment policy is reiterated here, and the expiry date on their action is also noticed here. Now the most important thing is this paragraph here. So this is going to be sent to the guest. You need to confirm your acceptance of the rate. To accept the rate and confirm the reservation, please either click on the link below or copy and paste it into your browser. You will then be taken to our secure server where you can supply us with your confirmation and credit card details. And you can see this link, which has been generated specifically for this booking. So we're going to send this to the guest, and then we're going to pretend that we're the guest, and we're going to action that link in a moment. But you can see here reservation details, cancellation policy, and your email signature. And down the bottom here, we're going to click Send to send that off to the guest. Now you'll recall we clicked the guest details, so if we had some address information, we could pop it in here. Perhaps they said that they'd turn up at 2 p.m. If they had any dietary requirements or etc., you can add it here and click Save Booking. Now you can see the status of this booking is pending reconfirmation. So right now it will show as blue on our calendar as we are waiting for the guest to confirm their reservation. So this is what they will see when they click the link within their email. They'll be taken to this page. So you can see it's all personalized for this particular guest with all that information that came from within the booking. You can see they're booking the turquoise room, and they can get more information about that if they'd like, and they can indicate what configuration they'd like. You can ask the mobile. So these are the questions that are generally asked during the online booking process, but the most important part of this page is the payment details section. Now listen carefully so that you know what your guests have to go through. Your credit card details are required now in order to process and confirm your booking request. The $1 amount shown on the credit card page is an authorization amount only and is required to enable us to charge your card when payments become due. After 7 days, the $1 amount is released back into your available funds. Please click here. So they will click here. Now even if you don't have a credit card processing module, it will still capture the details for you. So you'll notice here that it is only $1 and it's just a verification. Now after we've finished today's session, I'll pop you through an email with these credit card, this false credit card information, so that you can do some practice bookings yourself. So wait for that email later on this afternoon, and we're going to click Submit. So this is your guests going through the confirmation process. So they get this approved, thanks for submitting. You can close that page. They get brought back to this page again. You can see here, please click the confirm button below to confirm your booking. They can add text if they like, and they can click confirm. Now if they try and confirm without adding their credit card details, they'll get reminded to enter their details. So we're just going to click confirm there, and that's what your guests need to do, and they'll receive this copy. And a couple of things will happen right now too. You'll receive an email, a ResBook notification to let you know that the booking has been confirmed. Your guests will receive a copy of Standard Reply 3 saying thank you for confirming your booking. You should also receive a copy of that email. So back into ResBook, let's refresh this page slightly, and you'll find that this booking is now confirmed. Give it a moment, it's just bringing through the new information. Obviously, because ResBook is an online software, the page just needs to be updated. So here we go, status is confirmed. Now, because you know that the system has captured the credit card information, you can now go up to ResPay. So we're going to copy the booking number. Because your guests know your booking policy means that you want 25% to secure the booking, you can go up to ResPay. You can collect your 25% deposit. Obviously, I'm moving quite quickly through this, but you'll get there eventually. So you can see this, there we go, and we've collected the deposit for this particular booking, and I'm going to close that page. We can check that that has been done in there. So there you go. This booking's all good to go, and that's how you would place a manual booking using the pending reconfirmation procedure. All that's left to do is check this booking in. Now, the next place to place a manual booking is in the bookings menu drop down. Now, if you scroll underneath what we've already covered, you'll notice here there's a new booking form. Underneath that is the new forward booking. Now, we don't recommend using this very often unless you do have a lot of bookings that you need to enter into your system. So above that is our new bookings option. So we're going to click on that, and you'll notice it's bringing up the same new manual booking form that we worked with before, although it's allowing us to select multiple stock units this time. So there's the difference between using a clicking on a square on the calendar compared to using the new manual form in the bookings list. All right, this time we're going to go through and we're going to select today's date. We're going to say 2 adults. We've just booked bed 1 and bed 2 in the dorm room. They're just going to stay the one night. We're going to send this straight to confirmed. Let's say this is a couple of travellers who are on the road and they're due to come in later on this afternoon and they just want to give us a credit card details right now. So what you can do in that case, perhaps people who just want to take care of everything right then and there, perhaps people who don't have internet access to complete the pending reconfirmation procedure, you can capture their credit card information while you've got them on the phone. So you can set the status to confirmed. You can pop our rate in. Actually, I think dorm bed was $30 a head, so we've got 2 people at $60. They're only going to be staying one night. Booking origin was the telephone in this case. Charlie Brown. We don't have an email address for him. He just wants to take care of everything over the phone. Now we're going to go down. We don't have any more information just at this point, and we're going to save the booking. Now, because I didn't put an email address in there, it hasn't asked if I wanted to send a standard reply. If I did put an email address in there, it would ask me if I wanted to send standard reply 5, which would just reiterate the confirmation details of the booking. But you can select no if you'd rather not email the guest. Now, at this point, we still have Charlie on the phone with us. I'm going to copy the booking number, go up to ResPay New Zealand, and you'll notice this page looks a little different. Obviously, we haven't collected the credit card information yet. So see, the Enter CC button is allowing us to do so. So clicking on the Enter CC button, we're taken through to the same page. Now, you'll recognize this page from the pending reconfirmation procedure, and you'll notice it's not charging any specific amount. This is simply the authorization amount again. So all this is doing is validating the fact that the card is correct. Now, once this is done, you'll get a message to say that, yep, that card has been accepted. It'll take you back out again. Now, if you wanted to go through and collect your payment, you'll notice the next time you look at that page, you are able to do so and collect your deposit accordingly. So there's your 2 different options for adding manual bookings. Collecting credit card details over the phone by adding the details yourself, or collecting details via email. And remember, you have 7 days after the departure date of the booking to process any payments for that particular booking. Now, if you do not have ResPay or ResPay New Zealand, any online credit card processing module, within the booking you'll find a button that says Enter CC, and that's where you can store the details for that particular booking. Last thing we're going to cover today in our last 2 little minutes there is how to close rooms. In the bookings menu, come all the way to the bottom where it says close rooms. Now on this page, it allows you to select specific stock units or rooms or classifications that you wish to close. So you can see here, perhaps I want to close my dorm bed. So you've got a couple of links here. If you wanted to close your entire property, all the stock units that you have within ResBook, you can select all. Unselect all, obviously unticks everything. And I'm going to close bed 1 and bed 2 in the dorm room. So I'm going to tick that box there. Now across here we've got closed from. So the date picker allows me to select what day I want to close them on. Let's say we're going to close them on the 23rd. And we want to open them again the day after. The notes allows you to pop in a little bit of information about why you've made that closure. And then you can select close stock units. So I'll just point out right now, placing a closure allowed us to close to multiple stock units at a time. If we go back, have a look at our calendar, we can see the closure we've just placed. There we go, on the 23rd of June in our dorm rooms. Now when you reopen a closure, you can only do so per stock unit. So to reopen a closure, you just need to click on it, and you'll notice this is only opening bed 2. The same thing happens when you've placed a closure on normal stock units. Now this was one closure that closed both rooms 4 and 5, but to open them up again I can click on it. Now it's only going to open room 5. You'll notice room 4 remains closed. Right, so far today we've covered how you would receive bookings online. We've also talked about how you can place manual bookings. We've talked about credit card processing, closing rooms. We've covered our bookings menu. We've covered ResPay New Zealand. We've covered our messages option, and we've covered checking in, checking out, and invoicing. All right, so after session 1, you'll find I'll pop you an email through later this afternoon with a few instructions on how to do the following. You'll need to log into your new ResBook system and place some test bookings. Now my email will include a few bits of information to help you do so. After you feel confident with your test bookings, that you're getting the hang of it, you've placed bookings via your calendar, you've placed pending confirmation bookings, and you've placed instantly confirmed bookings, go through and then cancel those. It's really important that you keep your inventory up to date within ResBook. Then you'll need to add your real forward bookings to your calendar. So everything's correct, so when you do go live, there's no chance of double bookings. As you go through these steps, please note down any questions and bring them to session 2. Alternatively, you can give us a call this afternoon or pop them through as an email, or even if you'd like to just keep track of them, we can discuss all your questions after you've completed both your training sessions. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. We know there is a lot of information to gather all in one day, but as always, you know how to get in touch with us via the phone or email if you have any questions or anything you'd like to discuss. Hopefully you can get through your homework okay, and we'll see you again very shortly for session 2. Thank you again and have a great night.